Charleston County offices are adjusting to the coronavirus outbreak, including the Charleston County Treasurer's Office. I talked with Treasurer Mary Tinkler for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Charleston County Treasurer Mary Tinkler, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be with you.
You're very welcome.
Zoom, of course.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. Via Zoom. I got to make that abundantly clear, because some people think I'm doing one-on-one interviews with people face-to-face, and that's not the case in this situation. But no. I know, obviously, as I just mentioned, you're the Charleston County Treasurer. And let me jump right into it, Mary, because with the COVID situation affecting the local economy right now so badly, how has the affected revenues been coming into the Treasurer's office?
Clearly, I mean, we have seen certainly a decrease in collections, but this is also considered our slower period normally anyway, and so we are right now collecting motor vehicle property taxes and boat property taxes at this point. So we're not in a period of tremendous collection. This is typical of the year. And so that comes typically from October to February or late January. So we narrowly missed it this year with all the closures, but we are looking forward certainly to how we can improve and amend situations to make it safe and effective as we move towards real property season.
And I know that obviously it's a slow season for the Treasurer's Office, but how is the Treasurer's Office operating with diminished revenues that around the country and around the county?
Well, you know, we operate like any other department here in the county government. We fall under the county's budget. So as it comes to our particular budget here in the Treasurer's Office, we have just started a new fiscal year here in the county. And so, you know, we are moving along by budgetary constraints that were set by county council. So that is every year, and we are, you know, we're ticking right along.
Ticking right along. And I know that obviously, I just mentioned this just a second ago, but obviously you're in a slow season, and obviously, as you mentioned, the budget comes from county council. But will declines in certain fees affect your office going forward?
Not my office, no. I mean, so it will possibly affect county budgets, absolutely. But if you're speaking about the Treasurer's Office specifically, no. I mean, if we're talking about collections of property taxes, which is what I collect. Now, here in the county, we also collect accommodations taxes, we collect hospitality taxes, we collect business fees. That is a separate department from mine. But when it comes to property taxes specifically, yes, I mean, of course, we probably do anticipate some decline in collections. And while we were down overall, you know, we expect that to rebound as the economy, you know, picks back up and employment comes along with that.
And since COVID, has your office had to extend, say, the property tax deadline?
We have not. And that's a great question, Quintin, because a lot of people call our office and want to see if there is any extension for deadlines for property tax collection. And it is not actually something that is at the discretion of the county treasurer. So that is all, deadlines are all set by the General Assembly, so the legislature here in South Carolina. And so any penalty dates, any collection dates are actually set in statute. And that is what your South Carolina representative or South Carolina senator would be doing. So in terms of extending any deadlines, no, there have been no extensions to deadlines. The one extension, if you will, was that the governor was able, since he is over the Department of Motor Vehicles, to extend, I guess, the late fees that are imposed by the DMV for late motor vehicle bill payments. That is not something that we collect on behalf of the DMV, but it was something that the governor was able to make possible for March, April, May, and June bills this year. So yes, I mean, if you were to have paid a little bit late on any one of those bills this year, you would not have seen that late fee that typically would come from the DMV.
As a matter of fact, delinquent tax payments, how does your office assess that in the middle of this health outbreak?
Tell me what you mean by how we assess that.
How are you dealing with that right now?
Okay, well, so I mean, like any other year, so we are a separate department from the delinquent tax collector. But this year, the execution notices were sent out a couple of months later than typically would have been. So we are, again, just by statutory requirements, moving forward on delinquent tax notices. Now, those delinquent tax notices would be for property taxes that were due by January 15th. So that was prior to, COVID-19 closures here in South Carolina. So that is what those delinquent tax notices would be at this time.
At this time. And let me ask you about escrow property tax payments. How many of those are coming into your office right now?
We are still getting a good number of the installment plan payments coming in. We are so thankful that was put into place a couple of years ago now, so that people do have the opportunity to make those payments. And we had received a number of calls over the course of the past couple of months to see if they could be put into the installment program here in the Treasurer's office. But again, by statute, the county does not have the discretion to open up that application period beyond January 15th. So those who were receiving stimulus checks and hoping that maybe they could kind of put that towards their property taxes this year, I want to just have them open up a savings account and do that on their own, because at this time legally I'm unable to take those payments. But for those who were in the installment plan, we're moving right along with those payments.
And Mary, if somebody wants to get their taxes lowered, is there a tax relief program available?
There isn't, Quintin. So again, we're sort of bound again by state statutes right now, in large part. And so taxes, I mean, property taxes anyway, are made up of a variety of things, if you will. And so you're going to look at your tax bill and you're going to see about 6 different political subdivisions that make up that tax bill. And so each one of those political subdivisions, and I know that this is probably more than you wanted to know, but each of those political subdivisions does create and vote upon their own budget. And so that is what you're paying towards. You're not just paying the Charleston County government when you write a check to my office. You're paying the city of Charleston if you live there. You're paying the town of Mount Pleasant. You're paying the city of North Charleston, et cetera. You're paying towards fire districts. You're paying towards the school district. You're paying towards parks and recreation. And that is what we disperse out to those different entities. And they are the ones who set their own budget. And so they have been working on budget cuts, much like Charleston County government did this year. So in terms of lowering the taxes, if you will, I mean, that is all in large part related to what the millage would look like for each of those political subdivisions, and how, what you need in order to fill that budget, in order to provide the services for that next fiscal year. So I guess it's a complicated answer, but you certainly need to look towards each of the 6 or so political subdivisions that come out on your property tax bill each year to see what their budgets look like in order to know how taxes really are affected. That makes any sense. Sorry, I could go on and on about property taxes, and it's hard to answer in just a little bit of a couple of sentences. So, but at this time, no. I mean, there is no quote unquote property tax relief. So yeah, property taxes we still expect will be The bills will be out in early October for your real property or your home and your land, and they will be due, by January 15th, unless you want to see penalties begin to accrue.
And let me ask you about those penalties. What would that look like now in this health outbreak era?
Penalties will be the same. Penalties, again, are set by statute. And so on January 16th, the first penalty would hit. That's a 3% penalty. It goes up on February 2nd, another 7% for a total of 10% of your total bill. And then by mid-March, March 16th, 17th, you would see another 5% penalty that would be added to that bill total. So, again, these are all set by statute, and that is how we collect.
And do you have a policy in place, Mary, to ensure that a homeowner will not lose their property during this health outbreak?
Quintin, I wish that I did. But again, a lot of this is driven, as I said, it's not my discretion. It is by state statute. And I want to make that clear because, it is confusing, and I understand. And I get a lot of calls in this office about that because they do believe that I have the discretion as the county treasurer to either waive penalties or, to help them with a property tax reduction, which I unfortunately have neither discretion. So, I just to kind of explain a little bit more about how the delinquent tax works. I mean, when the property taxes are due January 15th, okay, so that's for the year prior. So that is going to be for tax year 2020 or the year that we're currently in. And then you have those 3 penalties that are added. And then, you'll have a delinquent tax period at which point you're getting an execution notice. Like, as I said, we sent them out 2 months later this year, or the delinquent tax office did. And then it goes towards what we know as a tax sale, right? And so if the property actually hits a tax sale, which would happen every fall, depending on what year it is, it may be October, November, or December, you have the opportunity once that property tax or that property sales at a tax sale to redeem that property. So you have a year and a day from the tax sale to actually pay the taxes that are owed in full, and at that point pay an interest amount towards the bidder. So, in terms of losing someone's home, we are still, if property taxes do not get paid this year, and it would still be a year and a half, 2 years out before someone were to have a deed turned over to someone else. There is still opportunity to make, payment towards that property tax or redeem that property tax after it's been sold at a tax sale. And so I do want people to know that as well, is that it's not about us, in the county selling the property. It's essentially just collecting the property taxes that are owed. We want you to have the property. And I am doing everything that I possibly can, on the back end to either amend statutes so that it is even more possible to help you redeem that property. I do not want you to lose your property. I mean, I want to make that clear. I don't think the county wants you to lose your property. It is just, again, kind of the way that the statutes are coded, and then we have to enforce them. And so it's up to us then to kind of work with the legislature to hopefully amend some of those so that it does make it easier for people to make those property tax payments.
What do you hope that you can work with the legislature now as far as amendments?
Well, again, that's a great question, and it's something that I've been thinking about, throughout this pandemic. And one of the things that I would love to be able to see is me having a little bit more discretion as the county treasurer to make decisions on behalf of my constituents, my taxpayers here in Charleston County. One of that would be, for example, with the installment plan, having me have the ability to open up that application period if my office is able to account for the advance payments would have been so beneficial to taxpayers this year. But when we closed down in South Carolina due to the pandemic, the General Assembly also closed down essentially, and they have been without voting power throughout this whole time, except for a couple of special sessions. And those special sessions have either just addressed budgetary needs or distributing money for the CARE Act, or working and voting on bills that had already been voted upon by either the Senate or the House. So if at this point the Senate or the House has not passed a bill, there's no chance of seeing a new bill pop up until the next session hits. And so I've got to be forward thinking and proactively looking towards tax year 2021 and what that tax sale would look like, and how I can possibly amend also interest earnings for the bidders. Who knows, you know, in order to help redeem property, a lot of things need to be worked out. And I have to also make sure that, you know, other county treasurers are on board with what I'm proposing.
Exactly. And what exactly is the original payment plan for someone who needs that information right now?
Sure. Okay. So for the installment plan, from December 1st until January 15th, you are able to sign up for our essentially prepayment plan for the tax year. So we as the county are serving more or less as an escrow agent for you. So if your property is not escrowed, your taxes are not already escrowed in a mortgage, which about 32% of Charleston County taxpayers are, or if you do not have delinquent tax payments at this time and you are fully up to date on payments, you are eligible to be a part of this. It's a 6-payment program throughout the year. Every other month you would pay us an installment. And so it's using the previous year's tax amount, since we don't know the future year yet. It's using that bill from, say, if you were to apply for it this year between December 1st and January 15th, we're going to use this year's bill that comes out in October. We'll divide that by 6. The first 5 payments are going to be equal installments, and so we know what those amounts will look like. And the 6th payment is going to be based on what is then the new tax bill. So it could fluctuate a little bit, either go up or down, depending on what your tax bill would look like for tax year 2021.
And, let me ask you the last question, Marie. Let me ask this, and I'm very curious about it. Any increases in the motor vehicle decals during this outbreak?
It increases in terms of us giving them out, or, well, okay, so another good question. While, of course, we were not open to the public for a little while, by public walk-in anyway. I mean, we were certainly back here in the office every day, answering phones, emails, making sure that payments got processed. We, as soon as we opened, launched a new decal issuance program. And so that has only been around now for a month here in the county. And so here in Charleston County, you are now able to get your decal from our counters when you make your property tax payment. For another dollar fee, you would be able to receive that service. And that is for renewal bills. So if you were registering a new car, for example, it would not apply to you. You would still need to go to the DMV. But if this is a regular renewal bill for you and you just didn't want to go to the DMV or wait for it to come in the mail, then that is something that we are now offering. Certainly you don't have to. You can wait for it to come in the mail or go to the DMV, but we're trying to kind of help, particularly as the DMV is working with appointments only at this time. They're still working towards a real ID deadline that was extended, but it's going to be there. And, so we're hoping that we can help citizens, have a one-stop convenience for that service. So we have been giving out lots of decals this past month, and we're super excited that taxpayers are excited about that program as well.
And how virtual is your office now?
It is becoming more and more so. We're still working on making it the best that it can be because, again, we're looking towards real property season. I want it to be safe for taxpayers. I want it to be safe for my employees. But right now, you can still mail in a check or a money order, and you can still pay online by either credit card or e-check. And e-check is a free transaction. You just simply need your routing number and your checking account number to do that. And so if you have any issues at all, finding your bill online, we're happy to help you. Just give us a call at the office.
Charleston County Treasurer Mary Tinkler, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. And I hope that I didn't confuse you more. Again, we will continue working towards, better solutions here in this office to make it as easy as possible to make this property tax payment. And I will continue working with the legislature as best as I can to make sure that, the statutes make sense for the taxpayers and for the counties themselves. So again, it was very evident, as we move through this pandemic, that we need to have a little bit more discretion at the county level.
Well, thank you so much for that information.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I hope to see you again soon. I hope to see you again in person soon. I mean,
soon.
Well, stop by, wear a mask, and come on in and say hello.
Oh, definitely will.